15, cuts left at the 20, on the room at the 30, headed to the near sideline, one man to beat, makes the move at midfield, coming to the near side at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, 5, touchdown, Kentucky!
Welcome in, y'all. Another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Got Aaron Gershon live in Big D for SEC Media Days. The quarterback himself is back with us. Jalen Whitlow gave us that highlight, gave us that Tom Leach call. Fellas, we all back full force. The trio is back. How you doing, Jay? Glad you back. And then Jay, Aaron, we know we get your thoughts from Media Days too, man.
I'm good, man. We're busy with football and the move and new school and that thing. But I'm good, man. Just ready for football season. It's almost that time. So good to be back, man. Good to talk some ball again.
Absolutely, yeah, man. You've been down in the center of it.
Yeah, it is that time of year. It's been interesting for sure. This is definitely, you could definitely feel the difference this media days with all the. It feels like every freaking question is from. This is not everyone at media days is like, are we going to have another Texas question, another Oklahoma question? It's constant. All the talk about Texas and Oklahoma, and then the last 2 days, those two teams were here. Texas was here today. Wednesday, and then Oklahoma was here on Tuesday. So a lot of attention on the two new teams this morning, seeing Kalen DeBoer up there and not Nick Saban, but Nick Saban being in the back of the room watching on. It's just been it definitely feels different. There's a different vibe, and but it's been fun. It's been productive, and then Kentucky they'll close things out tomorrow. They'll be the last team of the 16 to go. That'll be, I think Mark Stoops should be at that podium around 3:20 local time in Lexington. So for those who want to watch it on SEC Network, online, wherever, that'll be that. But it's been a fun week, as it always is at Media Days, and we'll close it out tomorrow with the Cats.
It's been, I don't know, you've been to Hoover, you've been to Atlanta, you've been to Nashville, you've been to Dallas, right?
Haven't been to Hoover, but the Atlanta, Dallas, and Nashville last year. But
anything jumping out, anything popping that caught your ear from anybody, or just
I would say we can go through some of the things I worked on throughout the week, but I'd just say from a big picture standpoint, like I said, man, it has been Texas, Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma. How do you feel about going to Austin? How do you feel about going to Norman? And it's almost, I get it. I get why those questions have to be asked. I get the assignments that everyone's got, but that has definitely been the big talking point, ever since we've been down here. And there, in fairness, there are a lot of ties from coaches in the conference. I mean, you look at Josh Heupel; he's an Oklahoma legend, right? National championship winning quarterback. You look at Jeff Lebby. He was just the offense coordinator at Oklahoma the last 2 years. They're coming into the league. Steve Sarkisian is a Nick Saban's disciple. He worked with Lane Kiffin at one point. So, there is a lot of ties with those two teams. Obviously, the old days where Texas was rivals with Arkansas, rivals with A&M, and those rivalries will be back. I'm sure when Arkansas and A&M are here tomorrow, all the questions are going to be about that. So, that has definitely been the main talking point. I don't think there hasn't really been that, like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that moment. Mm-hmm. I did see something today or I guess it would have been Tuesday, where a Mississippi State player kind of tripped up and said they run the state of Mississippi, which that has not been the case the last couple of years for everyone who watches college football. Everyone kind of knows Ole Miss is.
Oh, AG just dropped off. Have to get him back. And one thing I was kind of wondering too, Georgia's still kind of in the news with the arrest and with the driving and all that. And I'm listening, different radio stations. I listened to some of that Jocks out of Birmingham. I think Aaron was on one of those shows earlier today. But a lot was kind of being made, and I get your thoughts, Aaron. A lot was being made about – oh, it's all right. A lot was being made about Kirby not being asked about the arrest and the driving. And so I'm thinking, like, tomorrow, will Stoops get a lot of why didn't you go to A&M? What happened with A&M? Should he get it? Because if Kirby's not even getting what's up with the arrest and the driving, and that just happened the other day, wow. I mean, I'm sure people are still going to want to flash back to A&M, but I don't think they should. And
I think it's important to note that at media days, which I don't think people are mad about, that Kirby. So the main ballroom is the press conference that gets televised, right? That's the big 30-minute spiel. You'll get a lot of filibuster, like Shane Beamer, Kirby. I thought Sarkisian today, Billy Napier. Those four guys were they're filibustering because that's the big auditorium one that's on live TV. But these coaches, when they're at media day, they do a press conference in another room that's in front of a camera. They go talk to a bunch of radio stations. They do a live SEC network sit down. Some of them do Sports Center hits. There are a lot, and all of them meet with their local media personnel. We'll talk to Mark Stoops, Deion Walker, Derek Jackson, and Marcus Cox before anyone else tomorrow. It'll be us. That's always how it works. So it's important to note that while he wasn't asked that on the main podium, and that's what people saw and are annoyed by, he was asked in a private setting and, said they're finding players for it. So at least there was something there. With that said, as far as Stoops goes, I think that he'll probably get some A&M questions. I don't know if it'll be on the main stage or not, but he kind of catches a break that Kentucky's the last team to go. I mean, a lot of folks leave, not everyone stays the full 4 days. I mean, I do because I like the networking, and I usually can pull some things from, connections throughout the SEC, just player, transfer portal stuff, what be it, so be it. But a lot of the beat writers only come down for their specific team. You'll have some national guys stay around for all 4 days, but the fourth day is usually pretty thin. I was there in Nashville last year, and it was really just Tennessee media personnel because they went the last day, and some South Carolina folks, and then Ole Miss was there. They didn't really even have that many people there, so it usually kind of thins out. And then Kentucky's the very last team to go. So from the main interview room, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get any on it. I wouldn't be surprised if he filibusters a little more than usual to try to avoid getting any on it, because that is the one that's going to be on TV that the most people will listen to and hear. But throughout the day in Dallas, he'll be getting those questions. We're in the state of Texas after all, and there's a pretty large contingency of A&M writers that have been here this week. So I expect it to be brought up, but I do get your point. That's a far lesser issue than the DUI situation that's going on at Georgia, and definitely that probably needed to be addressed a lot more than Stoops possibly taking another job. But at the same time, I do expect it'll be brought up. It'll just be a matter of what setting it'll be brought up in.
How do they determine who goes first?
That's a great question.
How do they determine that order?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is weird because the first 2 years I've done this, Kentucky was both Wednesday. They were on Wednesday both times. This year they're on Thursday. But a lot of the times the days are similar. LSU's kicked off 3 years in a row. So I don't know how they've gotten the draw to go first every time. Ole Miss, it's been weird where the first year they were the first day. Last year they were on the last day. This year they were on the first day. So I think it's just, I don't know if they just pull it out of a hat or what. Vanderbilt for the last 2 years has been the opener on Tuesday morning. This year they were the last team to go Monday. So I don't really know. I've always wondered that as well. I don't know who the right person to ask for me to do that, because I'm curious as well. But yeah, Kentucky probably got the draw they'd want the most, which is go last, because the least eyes will be on them. Tomorrow's teams are, I believe Arkansas is kicking off. It'll be A&M. I'm not sure if A&M's going second or Auburn's going third. I think it's A&M second, then Auburn third, and then you'll have Kentucky closing. But it's a good draw, if you will, for Kentucky to be going last.
I would reckon that's something. I think everybody's enamored with Nick Saban being there.
Yes.
Oklahoma, Texas. Is in Dallas. There's so many other topics to touch on. College football, video game, new playoff system, NIL changes. There's so much to touch on that some of those questions may get kind of lost in the shuffle on the main stages. You know what I mean? I think that's part of it. because you know, on the YouTube app, when I click on YouTube app and college football, you know, the videos from college football, you know, SEC Media Days, the whole world, all that pops up is Nick Saban and you know, the video game stuff. I mean, it's just there's so much going on right now that it's just like, you know, some of the mundane, typical questions are being kind of glossed over, in my opinion.
No doubt.
Maybe that's just me, though.
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. I mean, there's been, like I said, there's been a ton of the college football video game, but yeah, ad nauseum, the Texas and Oklahoma stuff. And I get it. I mean, look at where they placed this event this year. It's a very convenient spot for those two beats and, you know, personnel in these areas. And it is a big deal. Like, I'm not trying to diminish it, but it has definitely taken the headlines, the majority, I'd say the vast majority of the headlines or vast majority of the questions on the big stage have been Texas and Oklahoma related. I'm sure tomorrow Mark Stoops is going to be asked about his Oklahoma ties quite a bit, you know, given that, you know, his brother and the success he had at OU. So, you know, we're probably going to get a lot of that while Stoops is up there. I guarantee you someone's going to be like, what's it going to be like to go to Texas for the first time? Like, that's going to get asked. So, yeah, he definitely might. That the Texas A&M thing, I wouldn't be surprised if it's glossed over a little bit, but it'll get brought up. I'm just curious to see what setting it is and how he'll address it. He hasn't really – I wouldn't say he hasn't been approached about it, but he hasn't talked. I wouldn't say he's been pressed too hard from everything I understand and everything that I've read or can recall from, you know, the press conferences this spring. I honestly, and then before the bowl game, I don't remember it coming up too much, to be honest with you. So I'm just as curious as everyone else to see how it goes. I'm not going to be the one to ask it because I want to stay. I don't need to deal with that. I don't need them mad at me right before football season starts. We have a good working relationship, and I'm going to keep it that way. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how he takes those questions tomorrow.
Sure. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so follow, subscribe. Believe in Kentucky podcast on YouTube. Believe in Kentucky on Facebook. Jump in. Y'all got comments in the chat. If y'all got questions for Jalen, questions for Aaron, jump in there, fire away. You got thoughts on, you know, whether you should, you know, get your PS5 with the disc or just digitally. Jump in there and weigh in on that as well. However y'all want to do it. Got a comment just popping in there. You don't need to be some guy in the middle. Josh Knight.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Josh. I already dealt with that with one coach, and Mark Stoops and I are. Yeah, I'd like to keep the good relationship we've had. We have a good working relationship, so let's not go there.
You still got that in your Twitter profile or X?
Oh yeah, that ain't going anywhere. Not until I get another job and move on one day. But yeah.
Cool. Oh, so Jalen, what's your, you know, prevailing thoughts on Kentucky right now, where they are, or the conference as a whole right now with media days, with unofficial start of the season? Where you at on everything?
Yeah, media days is, you know, it started to get cracking on media days. Everybody know that, you know, it's time to go. Football season is here. You know, as far as I'm concerned, growing up, I remember around this time, y'all remember like the old, they started playing like the old games, like the old classic games.
Yes.
You know, or whatnot. I forgot. I don't know if it was, you know, SEC had a channel, but there was another local channel where we used to live.
ESPN Classics used to be big.
ESPN Classics. Then there was another channel, like, I don't know if it was a local channel just in Montgomery, Alabama, but they used to play all like the old school, you know, just classic, you know, SEC games, really the Auburn, Alabama games. But it was always that time of year, man. And we started, you know, me and my brother used to count down to the first day of football practice, get our cleats ready to go. And, you know, it was time for football season. But, you know, I think everybody's excited, man. I think it's going to be between the new SEC structure without divisions and the new additions to the SEC and the playoffs and everything that comes with that. I think it's just naturally it's going to build more, more viewership, more, just more views, more people paying attention to it. Yep. More teams are in the playoff hunt later in the season than ever before, obviously. So you're going to get more fan bases into it. I just think it's going to be fun. You know what I mean? It's, in my opinion, like Nick Saban said, with two teams before the playoffs, bowl games were really important. Going to a bowl game was a big deal. Then you got the 4-team playoffs, and bowl games kind of got diminished. Now with the 12-team playoffs, bowl games are almost non-existent, and everybody really care about, who are those top 20 teams that got a chance to make the playoffs once week 9 and 10 hit, who can still make it. And that's going to be a big deal. And it's going to make for some cool TV as well, man. I'm sure people on ESPN enjoy that, because it's going to spike their ratings and whatnot because everybody's going to be paying attention to it. But, I think as far as Kentucky, they're going to be in a good spot. As long as they go into the season healthy, I think they're going to have a good team. A lot, veteran D-line back. You got a quarterback who everybody's excited about, talented guy. You got, a linebacker transfer that everybody's excited about. And you got one back. You got, Harrison, who everybody's excited about, who had a great year last year. You got pieces. J.J. Weaver for his 17,000th year playing Kentucky football. So, you got pieces, man. So it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, what people want to see is the offense kick up. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm out of the loop, but I think what people want to see is kind of how they do on offense. What changes? Does the tempo change? Is the quarterback who we thought he was? Can we finally start to make these pieces really go on offense? That's where I think is going to be the big thing. Which, like I said, if they can go in the season healthy, they got a good squad. We said this last year, I think, but the talent is there more than it used to be, in a lot of positions. So it's just going to be about staying healthy. And can you, they need to pull out, and I'm sure y'all can kind of pick the games, but obviously they need to beat Tennessee.
Have to find a way.
That's like a non-negotiable. And they have to beat Louisville again. If they can do those two things, and they pull out one more of those extremely tough games, whether it's Georgia, whether whoever it is, and they able to pull out one of those, I think they can have themselves a really good year. But they have to beat Tennessee, in my opinion, this year, no doubt. And it's going to be on the road. And they have to beat Louisville. And at some point, you got to catch Georgia on the right day. You got to catch one of these big boys on the right day, and you got to knock them down. And that'll do wonders, for everybody. If they can catch somebody and knock them down on the right day, man. And we all know how hard that is. Georgia is rolling right now, and it's hard to beat them. But everybody's beatable, man. You play the right game, you play good, catch them on the right day, and you can get it done. But they gotta get those. The Tennessee thing, and I think is at its breaking point when it comes to playing Tennessee. You got to beat Tennessee this year.
Yeah, if they want to get to the 9-win number, that's a must win, right? I think it's all, and I think we might have talked about it here last week, but I'll probably be saying it on every show we have till the season starts. It all starts week 2. Right, assuming you take care of business week 1 against Southern Miss, that South Carolina game to me will make it'll. If they lose it, this season is not going to go the way any of us hope. I think it's as simple as that. South Carolina is just not. You look at that roster up and down. Kentucky's been the better team for the last 8 years, maybe more. They've lost the last 2 games unacceptably. I guess you can throw some excuse out there for 2 years ago without Will Levis, but even then that was a 7-7 game at halftime. You had a chance to still win that game just by scoring a couple points. Like there was no excuse to lose that game at all. And then last year was a disaster in Columbia. I thought their worst performance of the year if you take out the Georgia game. So they have to win that game week 2. It's at home. It's the SEC opener for both. Actually, it's the SEC opener for the entire league. It's a 3:30, not at CBS anymore, but it's the old, 3:30. It is a 3:30 time slot, just ESPN. Like it is the game of the week in the SEC. I think it might even be the only game of the week in the SEC. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs. Again, it's at Kroger Field. You can't lose that game. If they lose that game, you worry about every game on the schedule the rest of the way outside of the, maybe the non-conference games and Vanderbilt. Like that's if they win that game, I think then you go to the games you talked about, Jalen. You go to Tennessee, where can you finally get it done in Knoxville with a full crowd there? You go to Ole Miss. Can you pull that thing out? I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. That's probably a game I'm not going to pick them to win, but can they at least show up and show you something that makes you feel good? And I think the other big flip game on the schedule is Auburn at home. That's another team where I still think I think for sure that it's not quite the roster that Hugh Freeze is wanting yet. I think it's getting there. I think they should take a step up from where they were a year ago, but they still have questions at quarterback and Peyton Thorne. They didn't upgrade that position in the transfer portal over their offseason. They lost some key guys, to the league over the offseason. They definitely have some returning talent. I think they're going to take a step up from the 6 and 7 year they had this past fall, but that's a game at home in October. Keeneland Saturday, then Kroger Field. Those are some of the best environments you're going to get. Those are the 2 games for me, man. Like it starts with those 2. Like, well, let's cross the Tennessee, Ole Miss, Georgia, and what's the other one? Other tough Texas bridge. When we come to it, you got to take care of business in the Auburn game. You got to take care of business in the South Carolina game. And I don't even talk too much about the Louisville game. One, because we'll see where they're at that point in the season, whether it's just going to be a rivalry game and you're playing it for pride and wanting to beat your rival, or if it's going to mean something for a big bowl or for a 12-team playoff spot potentially. But I still feel good about their chances against Louisville. I actually think looking at it objectively, I think Louisville is going to take a little bit of a step back this year. That's usually how it goes in year 2 for most guys anyway. So that's kind of where I'm at. You got to beat South Carolina. You got to beat Auburn. And then, let's talk and see if we can get that number to 9 or 10 somehow.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we haven't done the game by game predictions, which we get that in for the season, get that in before the kickoff starts. But you and I might be in the similar neighborhood, Aaron. Just not sure, which losses are the same or whatever. But if I'm in the boat where if you've heard you could be a whole lot better and the record might not reflect it.
Right.
And maybe that's the case because the schedule is challenging. It is difficult.
Really.
But it's also time to cross an I and dot a T. Maybe are you a lot better? Yeah, maybe you are. But you can't be at the end of this year saying, 2 plays from 9 and 3. You do what you need to do. Make those 2 plays to get yourself to 9 and 3 instead of being 7 and 5. Had they went 9 and 3 when they, was the Vanderbilt play where, a green rookie Maxwell Harrison comes in and, just wasn't ready for that moment. If you make those 2 plays and you are 9 and 3, the whole past 4 or 5 years look completely different.
And A&M fans are happy when that news breaks that Mark Stoops is the next football coach and Mark Stoops is in College Station.
That's true too. And man, I'm putting up one head blanking. The Tulane coach is here.
John Summerall's here.
Summerall is up here as the head coach at his alma mater. So wow, the domino effect there, that is very likely would have happened for sure. But don't be sitting here saying, well, we could have been 8-4, we could have been 9-3. Just finish, just pay a little more attention to detail, I guess, is what I'm saying. Because we've been close, and 75 is still a lot better than some lean years in the past. But when you're in control of bettering yourself, you gotta be able to finish. That's all I'm saying.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, how do I say this? That's no doubt about that. I just think, from an offensive standpoint, there's no other way to put it. They just gotta put it together. They gotta score points. I mean, and in particular, I think they're gonna be able to run the ball well. But I think they gotta be able to throw the ball on teams when teams are not allowing them to run the ball. And I'm talking the good teams. Can you do that? That's what separates it. When you put Georgia in a bind and you make them somewhat one-dimensional, Carson Beck is going to still be able to beat you. When you put Bama in a bind and you make them one-dimensional, Jalen Milroe, at least last year, showed that he can still beat you. When you put Texas in a bind, when Bama kind of was stifling for a minute, Quinn Ewers showed that he can beat you with his arm. Even though Bama knew a pass was coming. They knew the pass was coming. They knew it was coming. They were still good enough to beat a real good team on the road when they knew this had to happen. So that's what separates your 7-5 seasons from your 9-3, 10-2 seasons. At the end of the day, is when you're not on the pass game, because what they say, defense travels, run game travels typically. So when you're not on in the pass game is equivalent to Steph Curry being off some nights shooting threes. Some nights you're going to be a little bit off. But can Draymond, can the rest of those guys still get you enough points in the paint for you to win the game? Can you play good enough defense to win the game? At the end of the day, can you run the ball well? Can you play good defense? However, we all know that somebody in this conference is going to be good enough, you're going to be talented enough, you're going to be on the road, and you're going to make those third down throws, those third and long, third and medium throws to beat a really good team. Can you do it? And in the past, they've shown times where they could, especially that 2021 year. But, since then, that hasn't been the case. So they have to be able to do that to be able to go where they want to go, period. I think the defense is going to be good enough. I think the run game could potentially be good enough. I think the quarterback's legs are going to be good enough. Look, man, at the end of the day, when Tennessee is slowing your run game down, you're playing at Tennessee, and it's the fourth quarter. It's 3rd and 9, bro. You got to be able to make the throws to win the game. Receivers got to make plays to win the game. O-line got to be able to protect to win the game. That's just what it comes down to. Everybody like to talk about running the ball, and you have to be able to run the ball. Everybody knows that. But at the same time, the teams that win championships consistently, the teams that compete at a high level consistently, the teams that win national championships and all of that, conference championships, when another team makes them one-dimensional, they are able to use that one dimension and still come out on top. That's what championship teams do. That's what good teams do. That's what teams that beat their rivals do. That's just what it is. So we're going to be able to find that out, real quick this year because, I don't think South Carolina is very good.
No, you're not.
So you got to beat South Carolina. Like you said, if they lose to South Carolina, it's probably odds are it's not going to be a great year. So you got to beat them. But I'm talking, y'all know who we talking about. We talking about teams that got the big boys. Can you handle the big boys and can you make plays down the stretch when you have to make them against contested coverage? That's what it is. That's what the NFL is. That's what high-level college football is.
Right.
It just is what it is, man. So we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And AJ, you mentioned a bunch of stories that you worked on. So, man, tell everybody what, if you haven't seen it, if you get to Catch Pause, you got a lot of cool stuff, man.
Yeah, appreciate that. I'll go chronologically here just from the last 3 days. We'll start with today. Graham Mertz, quarterback, who we talked a lot about on this show this time last year, and he kind of proved us wrong, right? We were kind of skeptical when that seemed to be the direction Kentucky was going in at quarterback. Ended up having a really good year at Florida, led the SEC in completion percentage. Talked to him a little bit about his recruitment with Kentucky, that process. He talked really highly and, didn't give too much away, but I thought was really good. Came away really impressed with him today, and I was impressed with him last season. I still think Florida is not quite there yet. I don't know if they'll quite ever get there, to be honest with you, under Billy Napier. I mean, they do have I think Mertz is a good quarterback. I think DJ Lagway, who is in their system or in their program, is even better and will be ready for next season. But we'll see if it ever happens for Florida. But I do came away very impressed with Graham Mertz and came away impressed with him last season. So that was one. Christian Story, safety transfer from Alabama. Talked to Malachi Moore, who has been a very close friend of his the last 4 years, sharing the DB room. They competed, for starting jobs against each other. Really close friends. So got some insight from him on Christian. Going back to yesterday, Brady Cook played for Bush Hamden for 3 years. Bush Hamden and him are super, super close. They talk almost daily. So he gave some really good perspective on what Kentucky fans can expect from Bush, what he's like behind the scenes. Then Georgia guys, Carson Beck, kind of similarly, knows Brock Vandegrift as good as anyone. They're super, super tight. And I talked to him about Brock. He was great. And Carson Beck's just a stud. I mean, he's going to be, for my money, the number one pick in next year's draft. So it's cool to talk to him. Also talked to their linebacker who's there, Michael Williams, about Pop Johnson. Played with him for a couple of years. So a good one there. Cooper Mays, off center from Tennessee. I did ask him about Gerald Mincy. He didn't really give much. So as you can imagine, he did a good job at staying away, didn't take the cheese. Was complimentary about his game. So that's there. And then going back to Monday, just two things. I always like to talk to the South Carolina guys because it is a chippy game. The stuff between Stoops and Beamer is real. There's definitely a distaste, I would say, for one another, a very big desire to beat one another. And obviously I don't think they're right to view it that well. I guess that is the right to view it that way because they've won the last 2 years. But just like, we've been talking about this episode with South Carolina, like that's a must win. I bet you South Carolina fans and their media personality are saying the same thing about the Kentucky game, right? So, talk about the importance of that game with some of their guys who were there. Luke Doty being one of them, quarterback, moved to tight end. And then Ole Miss, Jared Ivey was the guy who got the strip sack on Will Levis to end that game 2 years ago. Kentucky goes back to Oxford this year, so reflect on that. So that's what we have so far. And then, tomorrow it'll be we'll see if there's anything from other teams, but it's more so going to be focused on, Kentucky with them being here.
Yeah. So, like you said, look for Stoops to filibuster a little more.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Nothing earth-shattering, probably.
Yeah, he's very. He'll keep it. He won't
guarded.
Get the out.
He's guarded there. A lot of them are because they just Heupel and the Tennessee people talk about how he's guarded. I heard you on the 3-man front with Pat and all those guys and Landrum and all those fellas from Jocks, and they were it's summertime and who are these guys would you most want to hang out with or whatever if you just pick one, stuff like that. And a lot of them were like, with away from here, Heupel, but here he's guarded.
That's exactly right.
You don't see that Heupel that's cool to hang out and have a beer with here. He's not letting you see that side of him. So a lot of them are they're excited, but they're just trying to get through it.
They don't want to give a headline.
Yeah,
Stoops says it all the time. It's true.
Yeah, not trying to put their foot in their mouth. They just want to say it and get their obligations and get on the plane, get back to the office is basically what it is. But
no doubt.
Anything from from the play, anything noteworthy from any players. You mentioned Cooper Mays, which he's a veteran. He knew the game
forever.
Yeah, so
I think the ones that fans would enjoy the most are the three quarterbacks, right? Graham Mertz today, I thought he gave some really good stuff. He was very complimentary of the process he went through with Kentucky. The one with Carson Beck and Michael Williams talking about Brock and Jamin Dumas-Johnson. And then Brady Cook yesterday, you can see it in his face how much he loves Bush Hampton, how highly he thinks of him. And, he went into, the last 3 games of the regular season after if you remember the Kentucky-Missouri game that year was the punt where it went 50 yards over Colin Goodfellow's head. He gets drilled. They call the unnecessary roughness or whatever the call was, and Kentucky gets the ball back and they're able to kind of salt the clock away. But after that game, with how bad Missouri was struggling offensively, there's a lot of calls for him to be benched, being Brady Cook. There was a lot of calls for a change in play caller, and they did change play callers to Bush Hampton. And from there on out, the offense took off. You look at the numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but it was close to 30 points per game. They won 2 of them to get to bowl eligibility, and Brady Cook, 7 touchdowns on no picks, over 100 yards rushing in 2 different games. So he kind of really got the ball rolling for Brady, who top 5 quarterback in the SEC last year, probably. I mean, he was awesome for Mizzou, who won 11-2, and of course won the Cotton Bowl. So I think that one probably, if you're worried about Bush Hampton, I'd go read that story. I think it should make you feel a lot better. And then go look at, I know he wasn't calling the plays, but look at what Brady Cook has been able to do just from the day that Bush Hampton started calling plays, and then after he left, he got confidence back in that kid.
Do we see a feature back, or do we see running back by committee from this stable of running backs this year, in y'all's opinion?
Last year we kind of were thinking committee, and then Ray Davis, and I in the back of my head, I went with it because that's what I was being told, right? But you look at Ray Davis, and he was in 1,000-yard rusher twice in his career. Were they really going to platoon that guy? They didn't, and they didn't need to because he was outstanding. But this year, I'm really curious to see what they're going to do. Chip Trayanum, I think, has it in him, but he's never done it, and he's going into his 5th year. Can you trust a guy who has been around for that long that hasn't done it yet? But at the same time, who are the other options, right? They weren't able to get it done with Penny Boone, who transferred from Louisville. After spring ball, there was issues for whatever reason. They couldn't make it happen, whatever. Demi Sumo Karmbe is more, I think, of a guy you throw it to out of the backfield. I just don't see him as a guy you're going to line up on any given first or second down. I feel like he's a third down guy for, to throw it to short yardage. I don't think he's a bell cow by any means. And then after that, man, it's a really young room. I mean, Jason Patterson's a true freshman. Jamarian Wilcox is a redshirt freshman who didn't play last season. We're talking a young, inexperienced running back room. So I do, at this point, think they're going to try to have it be Chip Trayanum's job, and then Demi's going to be the clear number 2. But it's going to be interesting to see if things don't go as well as they hope with Chip, what the next move would be. But the hope is Chip is just ready for the moment, and they got that evaluation correct. And you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, because most of the time when they've made those portal evaluations at the marquee positions, they've got it right.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be running back by committee, no doubt, man. May at least early, right? At least early is gonna be running back.
I can see that.
And until somebody, you always want depth, but you always want that guy that guy. And I just think, who's that guy that you give the ball to on 3rd and inches, 3rd and short, whatever, 4th and short? Who's that guy? We don't know right now. We could probably say train him, but like you said, he's never done it. So I think they'll let the game, because in practice, running backs, you can't really get a full evaluation on them until they're getting tackled, man. And you don't really tackle to the ground in practice much. So they won't really get a chance to see it until they're going against another team that they game plan against that has to tackle him to the ground. That's when you can really start to get separation. So it may be after the first game, maybe after the first couple games, and maybe that thing may take shape after game 4. Who knows? But you want to find who's that third and short guy that you can hand it off to. They always have Benny Snell, and they've typically had that guy. So I'm sure they'll find him, whoever that guy is. He'll develop, he'll emerge. And it's good to start off with running back by committee because you get guys reps until it shake out too. So we'll see. I think it'll at least be early by committee.
Yeah. And the big thing, and we've talked about it a lot in this show tonight, but they got to figure things out quick with the schedule, right? I mean, you have Carolina week 2. You could probably still, but I think it's really important for them to really learn role. Like, I definitely see them using it. I agree. I think it'll be pretty split, especially week 1 there against Southern Miss. But they really got to use fall camp to be on the same page, kind of have their roles established more so than ever, just because – last year they kind of were able to ease into the year, right? They had Ball State, EKU, Akron, and Vandy. Like, they got a soft landing to open the year.
It's hard to get a soft landing than that.
It is now you got Carolina again. I don't think any of us think they're going to be very good this year, but it's an SEC game week 2. Georgia, pretty damn good coming in here week 3. And then week 5, you're in Oxford. So it's like, you better be ready to go. You better know where you need to be. You better know what you got. So that does make me curious to see if they'll have it established by then. But, hey, the hope is, 1, multiple guys are playing well, and that way you can share the load and take some pressure off, whether it be Chip, Demi, whatever. And 2, the offensive line just has to take a step in the run game. I thought they were much better in pass protection last year. The stats reflect that, but the run game, the run blocking was not good again. And it needs to take a step forward this year if they want to get where they want to go.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. My thing with that though is I think the variety and how they approach the run game will help the run game.
I agree.
Liam Cohen is a great offensive mind, and it's real pro style. It's real pro style. And I think the way Bush Hampton like to do it, man, it's a lot more flair to the run game. It's a lot more misdirection. It's a lot more spread type concepts as well. There's some triple option type elements in there too, where I think I think that helps the run game. It keeps guys from just just zeroing in on exactly where you're going to run it when you have options, when you're actually running option type football type elements. And you got a quarterback who, they may be willing to run a couple times a game, design quarterback run where they're reading guys and doing that type of thing. That takes some stress off the running backs and offensive line as well. So I think they'll be better in the run game, by, just with the scheme, let alone the players developing at those positions. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. So camp time, trying to get everybody through it as healthy as possible, and things sort themselves out, let the cream rise, or, iron sharpen iron, and somebody reach out and grab a spot, get a chance to earn it. Opportunity is all there for everybody, and who's going to do what with it. So all time for that. I think up there in the comments, they just hit the non-conference stuff. So that was Southern Miss.
I like that it's out already. I can tell you that. That it's way earlier than usual, which is cool.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you do have the Gonzaga game, you got the Louisville game, you got the rest of those games that you should win. You got your Ohio State, and then the lower inferior
stupid Clemson game.
Yeah, bye games. Yeah.
No, the only bye games that caught my eye. Obviously, it's always fun when Western makes the trip up, so that'll be fun. And then Colgate was the one that caught my eye a little bit because they're in the dance every year. They win their league every single year. So that's actually kind of a tough early season game. I would say just it's kind of similar to like Probably an even better version of what we saw when St. Joe's came in here last year. So that one caught my eye a little bit, but the other ones we all already were aware that were happening. We've talked ad nauseum about how much we hate the Clemson game. Nothing against Clemson. It's just it should be North Carolina while you have the chance to do it on campus. Just ridiculous that it's not either here in Chapel Hill. Ohio State being CBS Classic. Their storylines there with Aaron Bradshaw, Michi Johnson, Kentucky killer facing him again. So that one I'm cool with. Obviously, Duke can't wait for that one. Gonzaga can't wait for that one. Louisville always can't wait for that one. So, pretty good non-conference schedule. I wouldn't say great. Did you see Alabama's? That's what I want. That's what I want. Have you seen theirs?
I don't think so.
I haven't.
Let me run through it real quick because it's worth it. Okay, UNC Asheville, Arkansas State, fine. McNeese, who we all know was maybe the best mid-major in college basketball last year. At West Lafayette to play Purdue. Neutral site game with Illinois. Neutral site game with Houston. Neutral site game with either Notre Dame or Rutgers, and then they'll play another one there, TBD on opponent. They go to Chapel Hill to play Carolina in that SEC-ACC Challenge. They host Creighton, and then they go to North Dakota. And they host South Dakota State, who's another one of those mid-majors we seem to be in every year. That's what I want. I want that.
Is that the Grant Nelson reunion game? Is that what that is?
Yeah, for Grant Nelson.
Yeah. Oh my
but still, give me that. That is awesome.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Man. Yeah, that's a gauntlet, man.
Good on Nate Oates. They put themselves in a position where they lose 6 games in a tough SEC, or they lose 4 games in that stretch, and then they go kick butt in the SEC. They're still going to be a 1. That is what elite programs build, and I think Mark Pope is not going to be a guy who shies away from that. I get year 1. You don't want to do that to yourself year 1. But I'm hoping next year's schedule, we already know St. John's is going to be on it. Let's hope we see, and Gonzaga will definitely be on it. I guess Michigan State will definitely be on it. So, we'll get some good ones, but let's hope there's some like that. I think that is a masterclass by Nate Oates.
That's it. Josh said he liked what he saw from Jason Patterson in the spring.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't. There wasn't much to take. I thought running backs were the hardest position to gauge at the spring game because there was no tackling to the ground and couldn't really see if they were making guys miss, whatever, right? But I've only heard good things. I know Bush Hamden was a guy he really gravitated toward early, or on in his tenure here. Mark Stoops talked pretty highly of him, and Stoops has been trying to stay away from compliments from younger guys just so it doesn't get to their head, but he couldn't help but kind of gush about him a little bit, and I'm sure that's a name that'll be brought up here in Dallas tomorrow. So, I think that's a guy who it would be great if he can help right away, but we'll have to see because it's just too early to tell quite yet. If we heard a lot of similar stuff with Jamarian Wilcox last year, and I don't think he played a snap.
Theo got 13-1 for basketball. For non-conference, I assume.
Oh, non-conference. Okay, yeah, that's. I wouldn't quite go that far. I think Duke and Gonzaga are going to be really tough ones to win this year. But it is plausible. Look, Clemson, I think, is obviously a winnable game. It'll be tough to go down there, and that's why I want to keep saying it's not like I hate that game because I think it's easy. I hate that game because it should be North Carolina. I would hate that game if we're Virginia, Syracuse, you name it. It should be North Carolina. And then Louisville, we'll see what they are. It's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of similar. I think they've done a really good job. They'll definitely be better than what they've been, but I still think they're not quite on Kentucky's level. Just looking at what they did compared to what UK did, and then Ohio State I think is an underrated sneaky game there at the Garden. So we'll see what happens. But 13-1, that'd be pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I like the familiarity Mark Pope has with Gonzaga after being in the West Coast Conference and playing them every year. So got that going for him forever. That's worth.
Washington State native. They're going to Seattle, so I'm sure that game will mean a lot to him, and they'll be ready to go.
It's kind of like Stoops in Florida, where Kentucky should have been beating Florida 2 or 3 years before they actually started beating Florida.
That's right.
But in his time matching up with them when he was at Florida State, there was no intimidation. He knew him inside and out. He played him every year, rivalry game, and he brought that to Lexington.
Yes.
To me, that was the sign of, okay, he's going to kind of turn it around. When you had the leaving guys uncovered twice. You had to give Florida 2 touchdowns to lose to them that year. Right. There was I think Florida won one game like 14-9 with Patrick Tolles. That was a game Kentucky had them beat. So it's finally happened now. You beat them 3 in a row, but you could have had a nice little streak going against them, and you could kind of see it coming. And I think with Stoops and Gonzaga, that'll kind of be the same thing. Not saying that Cal was intimidated or not familiar, but
sure,
Stoops played him in conference every year, so he knows what they're all about and that whole kind of thing. So I think that'll serve him well when Kentucky plays Gonzaga in basketball.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I can't say they're going to be extra motivated because it's a whole new team. But Gonzaga's gotten them the last 2 years. The fans are going to really want that game. They're going to hear it from the fans. So there is that aspect to it as well.
That's it. And we talked a little bit last week, Aaron, about EA, 25, college football 25 coming out, with Dion and Max being 93 and 91. Yeah, I was going back and forth because I'm out of the loop because I don't have PS5 yet. I got to get on board and get that taken care of and get back in the game. That used to be a slogan back in the day, EA Sports is in the game. I got to get back in the game. But Jalen, you were team PS5 with the disc, and you were team PS5 digitally, and y'all was both kind of y'all was digging in.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the nostalgia of the disc. I assume they're selling the disc. I don't even know how that works anymore. It is it definitely I'm reading. Yeah, I don't know if that's the disc, but I've had issues with scratches and I'm over it. So, and I also bought the PS5 that I bought a couple of years ago is one that it doesn't even take the disc. So it's not even an option for me, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think they still do both. They said the one disc, it has like a little hump in the side where you can.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, they sell both. But I'm a disc guy. You know what I mean? I just I gotta stack the disc, the boxes up. I gotta stack the disc covers up. It's just I don't know. It's just something that I would have to do. I'm not playing video games right now, but if I did, I would definitely get the disc. It's just something about having a physical copy.
I get that. I do. The nostalgia part is real. There ain't
no doubt. Like I told y'all, earlier, man, it's just something about going to GameStop with those old discs and getting 38 cents for a disc.
I used to do that.
You know how they used to do you though.
Like,
you go in and you try to trade in 6 games and they give you $12 total.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, that's how I got the PS5. I traded in my PS4. Actually, I wasn't even I was not in I must get a PS5 now. I had a PS4 for years and it got cooked in a storm. I don't know exactly what happened, but I at that point they weren't even selling a replacement for, so I traded in and got the 5. So I have it downloaded. It's sitting and waiting for me at home. I'll be back on Friday afternoon from Dallas, and that will be how I'm spending my Friday and Saturday probably.
See, Josh say digital PS5 is the way to go. Mm-hmm. Josh, I hear you, man.
It's just the new way, and I get. But I agree with you. There is something to it about owning that disc and seeing the collection of old games stack up. I still have mine sitting under the TV stand. So
ain't nothing like putting that disc in and hearing the noise where the game stuck the disc in the system, and it's just nothing like that, man. It's nothing like it. So. Yeah, I'm a disc guy. I still remember the old Nintendo 64 cartridges. Pulling it out. You gotta try to blow the lint out of it to make sure the thing works and all of that. I had the disc potion where your game starting to get scratched up. They used to sell this little stuff you can rub on the disc and wipe it off, and it's supposed to help, but it never really did. So man. This is the nostalgia of it, man.
Totally get that.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I gotta get in there and get all caught back up and jump back in there. But everybody's having fun with it, seeing all the graphics and the gameplay and how good it looks, and got the We Are UK chants in there and everything when you playing with Kentucky at a home game. So
dude, literally all my group chats right now are just CFB talk. This is literally all video game talk. Like it's I am very excited to get my butt on the couch and play on Friday. But
no doubt.
That business to take care of this week.
Yeah, it's just like, fellas, man, just text me. I gotta do my media days business.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
All of them were like, skip it. I'm like, that's not how it works. Come on.
Yeah, unbelievable. Flipping to the NBA, we talked about it already. Happy to see the Rockets keep the third pick and take Reed Sheppard. He's been killing it in the summer league. They lost to the Pistons the other night, but as even seeing him do what he did at Kentucky, I thought maybe his first game, 11, 12 points, a little 4 for 12, some, kind of ease his way into it. And he's already, put his stamp on that. Everybody came to see Bronny when they played the Lakers, and it was the Reed Sheppard show, in the first game and the second game. And already giving them the shooting that they need, and, got the floater, got to adjust as far as defense and all that. But, he's playing for a defensive coach, and, all those little things that he kind of would do at Kentucky, trying to get his hands on balls, as Cal said, getting him in a little bit of foul trouble at the next level. So he had to adjust to that. But already as good as advertised. Houston's loving Reed, and Dillingham is showing out in Minnesota as well. So cool to see those guys. As bad as Arkansas wants to try to claim them, they can't do that.
It's so look, I do understand. You gotta, when the press release comes out, you say Coach Cal, Coach blah blah blah, NBA. I get that 1,000%. Mark Pope. You should address the players he helped develop too. But it's it gets ridiculous when you're making the graphics. Oh, Cal had 3 draft picks this year. Just leave it at what the press release on for his introductory was. Leave it there. That's where I'm at with it. I totally get that you do have to give him some flowers for producing the picks he has produced, but do we really have to go in every clip of Anthony Davis be like, there's Cal's guy? Come on now. Come on. That's Kentucky's guy. He wore Kentucky across his chest. He played for Cal. That's great. That's in the press release. You can add it to his pool of how much NBA money he's helped guys get. Give him all the flowers for that. He deserves it. But those are the guys doing the work now, and they wore the UK uniform. They didn't wear the Razorback uniform.
And last thing too, Aaron, there at Media Days, man, is Bob Hope the OG? He gets the first question on pretty much every coach.
Yeah, he does, right?
So I'm like, man, they go straight to Bob. He get his 2-part question in. Matter.
I'll never treat that guy right.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, is he
Yeah, he's a legend.
OG of the whole Media Days. He that guy?
Yeah, no doubt. There's a group of them. Brett McMurphy is one of those guys. Name, I was sitting right next to one today from CBS, and the name is slipping me, and I'll find it here while I'm ranting real quick. But he's always, like you said, he seems to always get the first question. I know at Arkansas, which is obviously the beat he covers, that's it's tradition that he gets the first question to everything. So he's great. He does an amazing job, and has for a long time covering the Hogs and all things, college sports in the SEC. And, Cal is definitely not the most media friendly coach in the world. I don't even think he would deny that. So I'm hoping to see that, he pays. Usually I'll give Cal credit when it comes to the legends like Coops, Dick Weiss, Jerry Tipton, even. Like, there is a sign of respect there. There's some, you could tell there's a different level of appreciation for those guys. So hopefully, Bob will get the same love out there in Fayetteville, because he is Dennis Dodd is the one I was thinking of today, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely when you walk around media days, there are definitely faces you recognize as mainstays in the league or in the sport, and that's definitely a guy that's toward the top of the list.
Well, a lot of Kentucky fans used to, get upset at Jerry Tipton because they thought he was negative or he asked me tough
He's
questions.
doing his job, man.
Like that. And Cal was trying to sidestep him. It was media day.
Not Coach.
Cal, he said, it's not Coach's Day. He said it's media day. And Cal, Cal was speechless for a minute and kind of stopped him in his tracks. That was one of those funny exchanges, man.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Jerry's just, those are the guys you respect, though. I think even Cal had to respect, like, those guys are going to do their job. They're going to ask what they want to ask. They're going to ask what needs to be asked, and they're not going to care if the coach likes it, doesn't like it, loves it, hates it. Like, they're just going to go out there and do their job, no question, and get an answer one way or another. So, ton of respect for Jerry. Love Jerry. I don't get why I get why the fans, like, whatever. I get it, and I don't. Like, I think they're just a little misinformed on what journalism is all about, what this profession is all about. Jerry's the guy that I think a lot of people in our profession look up to and should look up to. He's fearless, man. He was great to be around for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's cool. Thayer says Texas losing to Michigan in week 2. That's still not a conference loss, though.
I don't think they're going to lose that game this year, man. Yeah,
Michigan.
I don't. It's kind of going to be a transition year for Michigan. I was actually one of my buddies from college lives down here in Dallas, and he's an Ohio State fan. And we were talking about it last night. So I think it's Ohio State and Oregon in the Big Ten. I think those are the 2 teams.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
The new Big Ten.
I don't think UW's going to take 2. They're not going to be what they were last year. I think UW might even be better than Michigan this year, though. If you look at the roster. Mm-hmm. I don't know about Will Rogers, but I couldn't even tell you who Michigan's quarterback's going to be this year. One, and you lose Harbaugh, Clink, a lot of coaches, the defensive coordinator, like strength coach, and then all the NFL guys. I mean, your quarterback, your 2 of your wide receivers, a bunch of guys. Like, I just think they take a step back this year. Texas wins that one, and I think it's going to be Oregon and Ohio State that meet in the Big Ten title game, wherever that is this year.
That's it. Give Reed the Rookie of the Year trophy. Hopefully that's the case.
Well, let's see. I think he'll be the betting favorite the way Summer League has gone. And Alex Sarr went number 1, right? And he has not had a good.
He went 2. The Zachary Richer went.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Alex Sarr went 2 to Washington.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He did. I know Sarr's not had a good Summer League at all. I hate to kick a guy while he's down, but it sure as hell's not going to be Bronny James either. So.
Yeah, that's it. And Reed and Rob tomorrow night. So yeah, that'll be fun as well.
Yeah, that might be. I can't honestly, like, I'm very happy for Reed, and I'm not too surprised that he's kicking butt down there. But it's hard to watch Summer League. But I'll be tuned into that as much.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll be a lot of fun for the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. We had fun doing this episode. Fun having Jay back. Always fun getting your insights from Media Day. Because did the same thing last year, Aaron, and you got the sound bites. You get to talk to the players. All the content you put out from the Cat's Paws, man. We always appreciate it. Yo, go to Cat's Paws and read Aaron's stories that he just talked about. Read what he's already written. Read what he's about to write. And look, we we ramping it up for football to get here. Got the QB back in here as well. So, we're doing our thing. And subscribe, get back in the comments, YouTube or Facebook. We definitely appreciate it. And we'll be back in here doing the same thing again on Believe in Kentucky. So for Aaron and Jalen, this has been Vinny. We'll see y'all next week on Believe in Kentucky on the Believe Podcast Network.